Welcome back to the Boardfather. I'm Ben, and in this video we're going to learn how to play Apex K-Truck Racer. Years after a terrorist attack destroyed every power plant in the world and a virus made petrol unusable, the world has become a dark place where chaos reigns and large corporations control all means of production and sources of energy. A brilliant scientist expelled from one of these corporations founded an underground resistance movement. This scientist developed a technology capable of storing kinetic energy in the form of a solid power cube, capable of propelling trucks as a substitute for the previously used fuel. Players are drivers insane and greedy enough to drive these monsters off the asphalt and smuggle resources out of these conglomerates. Those who manage to escape the corporation agents and earn more reputation in this wacky and dangerous race shall be the winners. For this video, we used a prototype of the game, which was kindly provided to us by the designer. So keep in mind that art and rules may change for the final production. For this video, we prepared a two-player game. First, players create the board however they want by connecting the drawn tracks. The more pieces used, the more challenging the game will be. The board must start with the tile Conglomerate Gates and end with the tile Drop Zone. Place a cargo cube over each resource icon on the board. Select at random a corporation card and place it next to the board. This card represents the player's conglomerate adversary. Put the 5 corporation Power Surge event cards aside. Create a deck with an amount of event cards equal to the indicated on each board tile. Shuffle 4 Power Surge cards with the event cards and place them on top of the 5th Power Surge card to create the event deck. Set 1 Heavy Machine Gun card per player aside and shuffle the rest of the upgrade option cards. Open 3 cards per player and create a display near the board. Each player picks a color and gather the truck's token and miniature, in addition to K cubes in their color, 12 armor cubes, a driver's screen, and a heavy machine gun card. Place the card in one of the forward upgrade slots on your personal board. Place in each truck's tank an amount of K cubes equal to the threat rating represented by this icon in the map tiles tag. Leave the remaining cubes nearby. They might be used later on in the game. Each player chooses one of the available drones to be his co-pilot. For your first game, it is recommended that players use the S28 hubcap model. Place the drone in the indicated slot of the player's personal board. As tradition among K-Truck drivers, players should bet on who can finish the mission with less fuel. Pick one player at random. That player must bet a number of cubes, then clockwise round the table, the other players must choose to either pass, match, or outbid. If any player chooses to outbid, a new betting round starts with all players who have not yet chosen to pass. The winning player, and those who match the bid, remove that amount of K cubes from their fuel tanks and adds that same amount of bravery cubes to their reputation slots. Then another player starts a new round of betting. If no player wants to start betting, skip this step completely. The toughest player goes first. Alternatively, select a first player at random. Starting with the first, each player must opt to start the game with 1, 2, or 3 cargo cubes. He must place his truck in one of the starting marked spaces on the tile Conglomerate Gates. The more cargo the player chooses to start, the closer to the gates he must position his truck, with the rear of the truck facing the gates. Besides, by choosing to wait longer to load his truck with more cargo, the player gives the corporation more time of stationary target practice, and his truck receives more damage. Starting the game with 2 cargo inflicts 5 points of damage to the player's truck, and 3 cargo inflicts 10 points of damage to the truck. Remove that amount from the truck's armor cubes. Then, place the player's K-Truck tokens on the position track located on the drop zone tile. The truck farthest along the board is placed in the pole position, with the order which players place their trucks on the board as tiebreakers for the following trucks. Now you and your friends are ready to play Apex K-Truck Racer. Let's learn the rules. A game of Apex K-Truck Racer does not have a set number of rounds, lasting until one of the players reaches the drop zone line. Each round, players simultaneously plan their actions, and then resolve them in turn order in 2 phases, namely planning and resolution. After the resolution phase, a new round begins. Let's see each phase in detail. Planning phase. Simultaneously and using the driver's shield to hide their choices, players must select 2 actions among 3 possible types, namely engine, update and drone. Using an action means moving a cube from the fuel tank to an action space, or a cube from an action space to the tank. A K-cube is never automatically removed back into the tank. It always remains where it is until an action removes it. Let's understand the 3 possible actions. Engine actions. When performing this action, the player adds or removes K-cubes from the tank to the engine, or the other way around. These cubes influence the truck's movement on the board. For each cube placed in the forward slot, the player's truck will move 1 square forward. For each cube on one side or the other of the engine, the player's truck will move 1 space laterally. We will explore movement later on during the resolution phase. Players can also remove cubes from the engine and return them to the tank to slow down or reduce the curve. Note that players cannot allocate a cube simultaneously in the engine's right and left slots. You must remove all the cubes from one side before placing any on the other. In Apex K-Truck Racer, all movements are orthogonal. No diagonals are considered. Drone actions. When performing this action, players add K-cubes to their drone slots so that they may perform one of their special activations. The possible activations are: Fix Armor. Add the number of cubes indicated to the K-Truck armor slot. Each truck can have a maximum of 12 armor cubes. Add Upgrade. The player can select one of the updates available in the offer and add it to his K-Truck. The player can choose to discard an improvement and replace it with a new one. Alternatively, he can rearrange the updates already in his truck instead of adding new ones. Make Nitro. The player can replace his K-cubes with high-voltage cubes known as Nitro. These cubes equal 8 K-cubes and are immediately consumed when used. Assist. The player can help another K-Truck up to 5 squares away to jumpstart. We are going to explain this rule later on. Upgrade actions. By performing this action, the player can power up or power down one of his upgrades. To power up an upgrade, place a K-cube from the tank on top of the energy icon on the upgrade card. To power down an upgrade, simply return the K-cube to the tank. The upgrade cards present three main statistics: damage, which represents the amount of damage the upgrade inflicts; range, which represents the orthogonal distance the upgrade can reach; energy, which represents the number of K-cubes needed to activate the upgrade. Note that some upgrades have no energy value and therefore are functional from the moment they are installed. For more information on each upgrade, check the reference guide at the end of the rulebook. Resolution phase. In position track order, players resolve their planned actions and perform all the game maintenance actions. Players go through these 7 steps during this phase. Activate K-Trucks, activate Corporation Agents, update the position track, collect additional cargo, check the watch list, remove map tiles, draw an event card. Let's see each step in detail. Activate K-Trucks. Before acting, the active player must first decide whether he can, wishes, or needs to turn his truck. If he does not have a K-cube in one of the side slots of his engine, he cannot turn his truck. If he has at least one cube on one side, the player may turn his truck. And if he does not have any cubes in the front space and at least one cube on one side, he must rotate his truck. To perform a turn, the player must rotate his truck token 90 degrees in the direction indicated on his engine. Then he must rotate his engine so that the cubes used from the rotation are now in the forward slot. After resolving this turn check, the player can choose to move, attack, and activate his drone in any order he wishes. Let's look at these actions in detail. Move. The player must move his truck an amount of spaces equal to the value of cubes used for the movement. The player can use his forward and lateral movement as he wishes, possibly alternating between front and side, but he must move his truck the exact amount of the value of cubes used. Remember, diagonal movement is not allowed. If the player does not have any K-cubes in his truck, he's parked and may choose to fully rotate his truck in its space in any direction. Should a player use 2 nitro cubes during the same activation, he immediately receives a bravery cube for fearless or reckless driving. If the player's movement causes him to move off the board, the player immediately loses half his armor, loses all high voltage cubes, gives up any remaining actions this round, moves all of his K-cubes to his tank, discards a K-cube from his tank, and discards a cargo cube. Place that player's marker last on the position track. Before next round's planning phase, place that player's K-truck in its last valid square on the board. This truck, for all intents and purposes, is not active in the game until the next round. Collisions. Throughout the game, trucks might collide with each other or with other elements on the board. The truck pushes the other truck or agent one space forward until it completes its planned movement or changes direction. For each space moved, those involved take 1 damage. If the collision object is eliminated, it no longer causes damage to the moving truck. If one truck pushes another off the map, apply the off-road rules described before. If an agent is pushed off the board, it is immediately destroyed. Upon reaching the drop zone, a player no longer takes damage. Attack. Before, during, or after moving, a player can attack an agent or another truck in range with one or more of his powered-up upgrades. He can activate each of his upgrades only once. For each point of damage dealt to an agent, it loses 1 armor cube. Place the agent damage cube on the player's reputation slot. When an agent loses all of his armor cubes, it is destroyed and removed from the board. For each point of damage dealt to a truck, the hit player must remove 1 of his armor cubes. For each damage in excess of the truck's armor cubes, the player must destroy a K-cube or a Nitro cube. When the truck loses its last K-cube, it is disabled. Attacked players may choose to discard an installed upgrade instead of losing 1 K-cube. When assisting a disabled truck using a player's drone action, the assisted truck adds to its tank an amount of K-cubes equal to the amount of cubes in the tank, engine, and upgrade spaces of the truck that assisted it. At any time during the game, a player may choose to forsake his drone in favor of his truck. Until the end of the round, a player's truck does not suffer any more damage points, and until the end of the game, he can no longer perform drone actions. Activate corporation agents. If there are any corporation agents on the board, they are activated after all players have completed their actions. Activate 1 agent at a time, starting with those closest to the leading truck. Move the agent and then, if possible, it attacks. A corporation agent always moves enough squares to be within range and line of sight. Line of sight is determined by tracing a line from the center of the attacker's square to the center of the defender's square, and without it passing by any off-road parts of the board. Agents target any trucks in the corporation's watch list as a priority. Large agents shrink to a normal size, occupying only 1 square. Then, they move regularly, and finally, they expand back to their normal size. Agents cannot move over other agents. A large agent deals damage to every truck in its range. Update the position track. Rearrange the order of the players on the position track, starting with the player closest to the drop zone tile, and then in sequence until the last player. In a tie, keep the previous round player order between the tied players. The player leading a pack receives 1 bravery cube. If there is a tie for first, all tied players receive the cube. Check endgame conditions. At this point, players must verify if the game is over. There are 3 possible ways for this to happen. First, at least 1 truck has moved into the drop zone. This means the revolution wins. Second, more than half of the trucks were either captured or disabled. And third, the 5th corporation power surge card is revealed. These last 2 ways of ending the game means the corporation wins. Collect additional cargo. If any player's truck ends its movement in a square on the map with a black and yellow grid, the player is in a cargo pickup space and may now collect the neighboring cargo cube. If two players are in the same cargo pickup area, only the player further on the position track collects a cargo. Once cargo is collected, that warehouse is considered empty until the end of the game. Check the watch list. In this step, players must check the corporation card. If any player meets all three requirements on the card, the player has gained enough notoriety with the corporation and is now being considered a threat. Place one of the player's spare cubes in the corner of the card to indicate this. The corporation's agents, from now on, will prioritize this truck when choosing a target. Once on the list, a racer never leaves it. Remove map tiles. When all trucks leave a map tile behind, remove that tile alongside all the markers, agents, and cubes on it. If for any reason a truck tries to return to that area, it is immediately captured and out of the game. Draw event card. Reveal the card on top of the deck and resolve its effect. Some cards have immediate effects, others have effects that last more than one round. Use pack cubes or markers to mark these lasting effects whenever necessary. Should an event instruct players to add one or more corporation agents, keep the following priority in mind. First, if the tile Gates of the Conglomerate is still in play, place all agents on its spawn point. If the Gates tile has been removed, place all agents on the tile in front of the leading truck. If the next tile is the drop zone, place the agents on the tile where the leader is currently located. Leave the agent's card open by the board as reference. When the last agent is destroyed, discard this card. If an event adds mines to the map, the last player on the position track must select board tile where there are no trucks to position the mines. They must be positioned side by side, adjacent to at least one other mine. They do not move, and when a truck moves over a mine, it takes 2 damage and the mine is removed. Agents do not activate mines. Game end. If the game ended with a corporation win, all players lose the game. If any truck has reached the drop zone, the revolution wins, and players must check which racer has earned more reputation. Players check the amount of K-cubes remaining on the boards. The player with the most and the player with the fewest amount receive 1 bravery cube each. In the event of a tie, all tied players receive a cube. Each player now receives a spare cube from each other player's color and secretly selects one to vote as the one who made the most incredible or daring move during the game. Each cube revealed guarantees the voted player 1 bravery cube. Players now sum the points: 8 per cargo, 1 for each damage done to an agent, and 2 for each bravery cube. The player who has the most reputation points wins the game. In the event of a tie, the player further on the position track wins the game. In this video, we learned how to play Apex K-Truck Racer by Fernando Konojezuk. Thank you for watching our video. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave a comment below. We will respond as soon as we can. Until our next video, see you!